Right. So her question is, I wasn't expecting this kind of question, but they say expect the unexpected. Such is life. That was the entire discourse a moment ago. um, Her question is that I chose Rudranath as my sadhana place. Do I have anything to say about that? About Mahadev's presence, Lord Shiva's presence? There is no doubt that there are certain places that carry great energy, great vibe. At the same time, you must also understand that I wrote in my memoir when people would sometimes come and ask me when I was in Badrinath, in that cave, oh, have you been to Nilkantha? Which was a couple of kilometers away from where I was. And I said, no, I'm just meditating here. Oh, you haven't been to Nilkantha? They would be quite sometimes upset. I said, why? That's the place of Lord Shiva. I said, oh, are you telling me that I'm only 2 kilometers away from him? That somehow he would say, oh my God, you've traveled 2 kilometers? Come see me, my child. Here's how I look. He's right here, just 2 finger length away. He's right here, in me atmane vatmana tishtasat pragyasta tuchyate. In the ocean of your consciousness are all the pearls sitting right there. The sharks of emotions and the feelings of dolphins and what have you, everything, all the sunk ships there, everything is right there. So it's not that he's 2 kilometers away. But then why did I choose Rudranath later on? Like I said, some places are very quiet. I just wanted to be left alone, be in a place where it would be very hard to reach me. Plus, when we have a place like Rudranath, or like you said, Panch Kedar, or any religious place, over centuries and thousands of years, so many people with so many different energies have traveled to that place. So they kind of leave their energy. It's almost like a nod to the siddhas, to the awakened individuals, to the amazing sages who existed before us, to be in a place like that. So Rudranath in particular was an absolutely magnificent place. Now, when I say magnificent, I don't mean to say it was a comfortable place. It was very uncomfortable. There was no arrangement for anything when I was there. So living on a day-to-day basis was excruciating, to say the least. Having said that, the place itself was nature's cradle. It was a basin, and on the 4 sides you have these mountains, and you can see at a great vast distance. Even I still remember when I was traveling to Rudranath, I was blown away by so much of empty space in a country like India. I thought, wow, okay, so it is possible to find a place where there aren't people. There would be, 1 and 2 these makeshift shops or places on the way, but barely. So I do remember when I was doing one of my sadhanas, I had one of the most surreal experiences there. Now, I don't mean to bore you though, so I have to ask for the sake of it. Have I written my Rudranath experience in any of the books that you have read about a yagna there? Okay, well, then today you will hear. So I was doing a sadhana there. I was doing one yogic practice there, and there was also one mantra sadhana there. That required me to do a yagna at the end of it. And that yagna had to be done at night, after sunset. Now, it so happened that it was raining there every single day. Every single day, just incessant rain, just constant raining as if the gods had decided, oh, this is a plain space, let's turn this into a lake or an ocean or something. Every day, these buckets and buckets of just rain and rain and rain and rain. Maybe also because it was the monsoons that could have contributed to it. And that particular yajna had to be done outside. It was a specific kind of a Brahma yajna, which requires you cannot have a roof over the yajna. Now, in my discourse earlier, the one in Hindi, I spoke about how sometimes we turn our wish into a prayer and we mistake our wishes for prayers. And I thought, oh, I've done all this sadhana. This was past my main sadhana. This was after I already had Mother Divine's vision, after I already had Lord Narayana's vision, that I thought, I should be able to do a yajna too. Nature should arrange for it. If I want to do a yajna, it should stop raining or whatever. But that day I was a little stressed on the 40th day. There was another sadhu there who was living at a little distance, and he had come to meet me. He was there for only 2 or 3 days. So, whole day it was raining. And my routine required me to sit in the japa pretty much all day. So around 4 p.m., I think, I finished the first leg of the japa. I used to start that one at 6 a.m. because from 3 to 6 a.m. would be my yogic kriya. I don't remember the exact timetable now. It's been, you can well imagine, 15 years. Now, at 4 p.m. when I finished, I went out. It was a small place, and I opened the door and I saw outside, and it was raining, and it was cloudy, of course, as a result, and I was a little stressed. And I said, does that mean my sadhana will not be complete? Does that mean that all my visions and everything was just a figment of my imagination? That just for the sake of a prayer, I'm doing a prayer and I'm invoking a mantra, and I will not be able to do my yajna? Is that what it means? We have to go back a few years prior to that, where when I was a child, somebody gave me a mantra. My own Mamaji, he used to be a great upasaka of Shiva. So he said, oh, with this mantra, you can stop the rain and things like that. And then another sadhu introduced me to the exact same mantra few years later. So then I did a sadhana of that mantra, never with the intention that, oh, I'm going to stop the rain or something, or even think that it was even possible. But once earlier I had deployed it, and it worked perfectly well. It was, once again, for a yajna that I was doing at an earlier sadhana prior to renunciation. I thought, okay, if worse comes to worse, I'll use that mantra today. But looking at the rain, I had my doubts if that would even work. But I thought, would that be right? Instead, should I not take it as the universe's way of working, the divine's way of working, that be it? And you don't actually stop the rain. It's somehow, as the word goes among the sages, you kind of postpone it. You put it on a pause for a little while. But nature has to do its work whenever it's supposed to. And so it happened. Around 4 p.m. I came out. It was really raining like crazy. I had to do my yogic kriya for 2 hours. I did that. 6 p.m. I came out. It was raining like hell. And then 1 hour of final concluding japa of my sadhana on the last day I had to do. At 7 p.m. I was going to step out. And a couple of tears rolled down my cheeks. And I said, I'm not going to use any mantra, whatever. That's what you want, then that's what you want. I will do whatever I can, and then thy will be done. So I was quite stressed. I was not happy. Remember, all these things are going through my mind after the vision, after my main sadhana was over, after all those things. And I'm still distraught. In other words, nothing changes in life, okay? Don't have high hopes. I did that japa for 1 hour, but pitter patter, and boom, boom, boom. It's just raining like anything, and I thought, okay, this is it, and this is it. And somewhere in my stressful thoughts and so on, I entered into a state of samadhi, which, for the record, I rarely speak about myself in those terms, but I'm always in samadhi, and that's not just me saying, that's been tested in lab conditions. So there's this significant things happening in the brain at all times. So somehow between those stressful thoughts and thinking, if I would be able to do my yajna, my fire offerings, my natural state rose to the fore. And as it did, I was completely immersed in my sadhana. I heard no rain, I heard no thought, I heard nothing. And that probably would have gone on for maybe 25 or 30 minutes. So in total, 1 hour I was sitting, I got up, I said, okay, because I couldn't go out earlier to put all my stuff outside, like the firewood and so on, because of the rain situation, I thought I'll go out now and see what the situation is. So with Mahadev's grace, it was a clear sky. And the sun had set, it was sort of dark. I started putting my firewood out. And when I say clear sky, I don't necessarily mean to say that it was a clear sky like anything. You could see clouds at a distance. You could see a lot of clouds at a great distance, but remember, the sun has set now. So I'm not exactly sure if I'm really seeing dark clouds or it's just the setting of the night and normal clouds are there. But I said, now this yajna was going to go on for about 2.5 hours, if I recall correctly. That it would remain like this for 2.5 hours might be asking for a little too much, if I would even be able to do that. But I said, we'll cross the bridge when we come to it. Let me start with my fire offerings now. One very key point that I forgot to mention. Part of this sadhana and this yajna was to be done on a full moon night. So, full moon, you're supposed to see the full moon as some sort of indication that your sadhana went well. So I'm seeing the clear sky, but moon is nowhere to be seen. I thought, okay, maybe it will come from the clouds. But at this point in time, I also knew not to be either, say, superstitious or to rate your sadhana on things that are not in your control. So my job was just to give my best for the 40 days that I was supposed to do sadhana, and I did just that. And I started doing my yajna. I started with the swasti vacha and everything else. Those who've done yajna with me, you might have realized I deeply enjoy Vedic chants. They connect me to our roots. They represent our heritage. They represent our culture. They represent all the sages and awakened beings who were there before us. As I started to do my chant, clouds started to come. Here I'm doing yajna. It was literally like Indra said, karke dikhao. It's like clouds are setting in like anything, and I thought, why did I even think about the moon and so on? Look at how bad the situation is. And then it started thundering and lightning and all that. And those who know me, you know I never exaggerate anything. And I'm not doing that in this case either. I'm not exaggerating even the slightest bit. I could see rain pouring at a distance. Rain's pouring at a distance, Clouds are overhead, and you can see thunder and lightning because you can see a vast area sitting there. And I'm seeing, oh, any moment now, it's going to start pouring on me. But I decided it's not something I'm thinking about. It's not something I want to be thinking about. So I'm going to focus on my yajna again. And it was Lord Shiva's sadhana, Bhagwan Shiv ki sadhana thi. So I'm making my offerings and I'm doing my sadhana. And just before the closing of my yajna, the clouds parted. The clouds parted, and the moon is fully visible. It was magical. It was absolutely surreal. The clouds parted, the moon is fully visible with some stars and so on. And at a distance, the rain is pouring, which you can clearly see. And the reason you could see that, because every now and then there'll be lightning and thunder, a different section of the sky, and that would light up the whole sky, and then you're seeing that rain pouring. And then doing your yajna, you're making the final offerings, and as I'm doing that, it was an experience like no other. You could see clouds, you could see the clear sky, you could see rain and shower and thunder and lightning all in one go, sitting under the same open sky. In my prior 13 plus months in the Himalayas, I'd never seen anything like this. It was absolutely magical. And now my offerings became even more difficult because I started crying and I'm crying and I'm crying and I'm thinking how foolish I was the past hour, this whole day today. That I even entertained such dumb thoughts. That my job is simply to make offerings, fire or no fire, how does it matter? Now when you're crying and you're sitting in cold and snot and crying and tears and everything becomes hard to make offerings then. But somehow you manage. Purnamada purnamidam purnat purnamadachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnameva vishishyate. I made my final offering. It was almost like a play had ended and the clouds drew back. Once again, there was no moon, no stars, nothing. And I went back with such a full heart, back into my heart. And I thought my sadhana is complete, and it rained all night like anything. The next morning, that sadhu came to me, and he was carrying umbrella. He said, "Oh, I was sitting outside, and I could hear your chants yesterday." I said, "Really? I was that loud?" He said, "No, it's the valley. I could hear your chants." And he said, "It was just beautiful." I said, "Yeah, but did you see how the lightning was happening and all that and rain?" He said, "Oh, it was lightning?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Oh, I had my eyes closed and I thought maybe I had gone into samadhi, and I was seeing that blazing light and flashing light and so on." I think one of the greatest attainments of sadhana is from childish, you become childlike. Being childish is somehow thinking my happiness depends on the fulfillment of my desires or of shaping the world based on what gives me happiness, which in its own right is forever changing anyway. But being childlike is, I actually don't need a lot. To be happy, to be fulfilled, to be grateful, to be in the present moment is entirely in my hands. So, like I've always said, if you deeply care about your well-being, then at some point in time you must give yourself the gift of solitude. If it's Himalayan solitude, maybe even better, but there are plenty of beautiful places where you could be in solitude. And you must develop the courage and the tenacity and the wisdom and the desire to spend time with yourself. To really discover What is it that you are made of? And what is it that comes to the fore when there is nothing that's stopping you? So that was my answer. I hope it was helpful. Thank you very